Today I'm going to be digging up some of my comfrey, not because I want to get rid of it, but because I want more of it. Comfrey is an amazing plant for your garden for three reasons. It's such a beneficial plant, even though it's not really an ornamental. It does look pretty when it flowers, and it's not a food crop, but it is a pollinator attractor, so the flowers will attract pollinators. The bees love it, so that attracts bees to the garden, which is great. It's a dynamic accumulator, which means that the roots are going to go deep into the soil and draw up nutrients into the leaves, which then as a biomass accumulator we can make use of as mulch on the ground or as compost. And even recently, just as recently as yesterday, I've made a balm because I've got some aches and pains, and I've done some reading about it being great for treating these. So stay tuned. I'll see about making a video about this when I've got some results. But right now, I'm going to dig this one up and divide it. Up until now, I've found very little information online or in my reading about growing comfrey in the tropical climate which we live in. So I've been a little bit cautious to start digging it up like this and dividing it before I've got some established plants. So about 2.5 years ago, I got a handful of crowns with good roots on them, and I potted them up, got them going, and then put them into the ground. Now I feel confident that they've been there a while. I can start to divide them and propagate them so we can produce more plants. But with the lack of information that I had, I just wanted to be cautious, trying something in a more tropical, a warmer climate, because as I said, most of the information I've been able to find is about growing comfrey in more temperate climates. And even before I managed to get these crowns, I had ordered seeds online a couple of times, got seeds from 2 different places, and had zero luck with them. Nothing came up. The most common variety of comfrey is known as Bocking 14, and it's a sterile variety. It'll still produce the seeds, but the seeds will not germinate. And being able to make use of the existing plant, the strong, healthy plant in this way, to divide it and start new plants is the best way to produce more comfrey in your garden. As I said, comfrey is a wonderfully beneficial plant because it's a pollinator attractor, it's a dynamic accumulator, and it's a biomass producer. So let's take a look at these three things. Being a dynamic accumulator, it means the plant has deep roots that can reach down as much as 3 meters, about 10 feet. And these deep roots will draw up nutrients to the leaves of the plants, especially potassium and calcium and trace minerals. So when we use the leaves for chop and drop for mulch or for composting, then these nutrients are recycled back and become available to your fruit trees and your flowering plants and your vegetables and whatever else you place the leaves on or the compost on. And if you're using it in your compost, you'll note that it's also a compost accelerator. The leaves contain a strong mix of nitrogen and carbon, so this really helps to heat the compost and feed the microbes that break down the organic matter much more quickly. And who doesn't like a good compost that matures and is ready quickly? And a lot of people use the leaves directly. They don't compost them, they'll just chop and drop them. They'll place them around the base of trees and other parts of the garden, making the nutrients readily available. And it's a pollinator attractor. The bees love comfrey flowers and spend ages buzzing around and crawling inside the bell-shaped flowers. And as much as anything, it's just a real delight to watch this happening. One of the things that I haven't used it for yet, but I'm keen to, as I break up all these pieces, I will aim to put them in along the edges of my garden that butt up against where I've got some creeping grasses, because it will provide a barrier between my vegetable garden and this creeping grass that likes to invade my vegetable patch. And in a similar way, it can be planted around the base of fruit trees. At the drip line of your fruit trees, if you plant the comfrey around the drip line, It is going to be sending its deep roots down to draw nutrients up and make them available to the feeder roots of the fruit trees. And because the leaves of comfrey are also quite broad and quite big, it's providing shade for the soil around the base of your tree, it's keeping the weeds at bay, and it's also helping to stop evaporation. And all the time improving the soil structure. I'm very happy with this. I've got 7 of these crowns that I can plant, and they're virtually guaranteed to continue growing and sending up new leaves very, very quickly. I think in this weather it's probably only going to take a matter of a week or so before we see growth on these ones. I'll continue to plant the rest of my root stubs and see how they grow, and I'll be really interested to see if I can fill out this whole area that I really want to cover with comfrey so that I can make the most of it in our garden, in our compost and as mulch, and of course to attract the pollinators. And if you'd like to see another way that can really boost the benefit of comfrey in your garden, please check out this video next. Thanks very much for watching.